1 million, 2 million, 3 million.
Oh, do you mean billion?
Billions, yeah.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Fail Forward Friday.
Yeah.
From Malesela.
And Roche.
And this is a weekly podcast that we do on Fridays where we showcase the biggest international blunders.
And local.
And local.
Yes.
Yeah, well, yes, international and local. Yes. And we basically go through, Doc says his story, I say my story, we compare each other's stories, and we come to a conclusion about those blunders. This week is going to be a very interesting one, especially, Doc, your story. I really want to hear this because, but we'll get into it now.
Yeah.
But how are you doing, Doc?
Good. I'm looking. I don't know what your story is, but I like the surprise. So
all right.
You will just go with. But who's starting? So
we can flip a coin, Doc.
I haven't done this. All right. So this is which one is this is tails, right?
That's tails.
Oh, yes. You do it.
That's tails.
I'm heads.
I'm already preparing like it's gonna be me. Yes.
I'm heads. You are tails.
Okay,
you go first. Yeah.
So yes, tonight or today I'll be speaking of it's a air freight, not air freight company, but it's an airline basically, Norwegian airline. It's called Norwegian. What is it? Hey, Yazi, I'm already forgetting my own story. It's called Norwegian. The flight is called Norwegian.
It's not SAA.
No. Listen, it's gonna sound like it's SAA soon, but it's Norwegian air flight. Yes, that's what it's called.
Okay.
And this is the story of how an airline company that was doing so well in its market decided to expand and shot itself in the foot, to say the least. It is so. This company was started in. In fact, the CEO is actually where the story actually revolves around. The guy's name is what's it? You know, these are Norwegian named. Bjørn Kjos. Yes. Bjørn Kjos. So it talks around. So Bjørn was he was a jet fighter back in the days. He then left that, went into his own stuff, went into, I think it was law or something. Went out of law and decided, you know what, he wants to go back into the airline business. But this time he went into the airline business as a worker in that sense. He then worked himself all the way up to this company. So this company, when he took over as CEO, it was still a smaller company. It was still quite small, and it was doing local flights. Think of back in the days, Time. You remember Time?
One Time,
yes. Yeah. One Time. Think of One Time back in the days. Not as what we see now, but with the other airlines that are today.
Mango, SFA.
SFA, and those Airlink. So what
Kulula back in the day?
Yeah. So they were just a smaller company.
So was it like a low-cost carrier?
It is a low-cost carrier, but it wasn't called low-cost carriers. So there's low-cost carriers as low-cost, and then it was a local-based one. So it wasn't necessarily low-cost per se. They still gave out like your the free dinner here if you're in the evening or lunch, whatever. So it was still like, hence I say it was like SAA, I guess. Yeah, it was like SAA, but SAA local only. Yeah. And what happened is he then took over this in the early 2000s. He came up with that idea. I think what Southwest basically did in a way, Southwest in America. He came in there and just changed the whole way everything works. So he now turned it into a low cost carrier, where they stopped giving food, bags. You don't have to check in. You can just have your carry bag. And it was just for the everyday person that had I need to go to a business meeting, or I can go on holiday and I can just take a carry bag with me. And what we now know as Sefe and those kind of things, so all of that. And he did then went into it, and it started going well. booming, boom. They started doing so well. In fact, he expanded into the neighboring countries in Europe as well. So this whole One Jet, One Jet, similar. They went into it. So these guys went into it before One Jet came in.
So he's the CEO, or is he the owner?
He's the CEO.
CEO.
Yeah. So he came into it, became a CEO, and worked himself into a work that they did. They were doing very well, to say the least. Very, very well. Fast forward, they started doing. He decides, you know what, he wants to go into the long distance flights now, and he then buys the Boeings and the Boeings, the Max, the one that was falling. He buys the Dreamliner. And then he buys a few things, 747. He buys the stuff that you need.
I hope he didn't buy the Concorde.
He did not buy the Concorde.
We must actually do a story on the Concorde.
Yes, that actually would be interesting.
Yeah.
So he then went into. Then they do the long distance. Now, when he went in there, he was going in went in guns blazing, because obviously he's now taking that model of short distance low cost into the long thing. So he slashed prices by like half.
So it's copy and paste, basically.
He literally just said copy,
Yeah.
control C, control V.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what then happened after that was he went. They started doing the trips now. The problem is, for local flights, it's easy because they had quicker turnaround, right? You could have 3 flights from one thing in a day. So, I mean, now I mentioned this, I was actually thinking about it. The book, there's that book called The Goal.
Yes.
And you've read it, Doc.
Yes.
And, in The Goal, he mentions that there's 3 main parts of a business. There is inventory, there is throughput, and then there's operational costs. And now, the good thing of what he used to do, the inventory is obviously what you have to sell, which is for them the flights. And they could do 3 flights, let's say, a day. The throughput is the amount of sales, because automatically, if you're doing 3 flights, there's enough people coming in because people want to travel for much cheaper than what it used to be, And then number 3 is the operational cost. Now, you're covering the operational cost enough with those 3 flights in a day, because now you don't have to pay someone 3 times or whatever. You're paying them a daily rate in that sense, or every month for those pilots or whatever, and they still do the work. So you're actually making more, because throughput is more than your operational cost, and so you're making profit. Now, this guy then decides, obviously, he wants to do the long distance. Now, obviously, long distance, there's no back and forth. Long distance from London to, or Norway to any of those main, because he obviously went in with the main routes, right, to the US especially. And now, when you do that, through your throughput is kind of like there, but it's not as, like, it's limited. Now you can only have 1 flight. Your operational costs go up because fuel is more expensive. Your inventory becomes only 1 flight a day. Now that becomes a bit of you're waiting for trouble to come. And needless to say, trouble did come. So how it actually first came was that they didn't have enough. I think they ended up. I think they were in debt for like $6 billion. Yeah, $6 billion, because I think it was almost a SAA. Literally, it actually literally was like an SAA, where they were in debt $6 billion. At one stage, when things really didn't look well, the Norwegian government, bailed them out. Sounds familiar. And then on top of that, it actually will be interesting now that I think of it, if you go into SAA and why, because I'm guessing this is probably the same thing. Why? I mean, but in any case, so what then happened is, obviously their biggest problem is that they half the price, and having to maintain that half the price against everyone, right? And they're almost subsidizing what their local staff is doing for the long distance, but the long distance is still not doing very well. It's putting them deeper and deeper into debt, meaning that is not even covering the long distance flights. He goes into what you call this? He goes into doing business rescue. Then they go into this whole thing before they even get to business rescue. The problem is maintenance is a problem. When maintenance is a problem, because you can't do it all the time because the flight is either there and they have to do it there, make sure whatever. So maintenance became a problem, number one. Number two was the issue on the 7th that MAX. It came around that time, at 2017, I think, where the Boeing, I forgot the Boeing something MAX, the one that was dropping out of the sky. That then happened in that sense. So that started happening now. Now, all of those new flights are now grounded. Now it's hitting their profits even more, right? They didn't go into what's this? They then go into, so it's the cost was a problem, as was said. So they then tried to go into a what's this? A strategy where they're trying to claw back, but it's already a bit too late because now they have to still maintain the price because people are sticking with the price. No. What then? Obviously, the nail in the coffin was COVID. Now you have all of these two things that are going against you, where you have debt, you have the MAX now being grounded for a while, meaning you have to claw back all that money eventually when it's up and running again. You then have the nail in the coffin, which, not a lot of money. Revenue is down because you maintaining these big flights, and then boom, COVID hits. Done.
So where is it now?
Now it is small again. It's locally run. It's locally run, and it's actually still in Norway, obviously. Locally in Norway, doing flights between Norwegian destinations. I don't think it's in Europe as well for now, but chances are they can if they haven't yet gone through. I was doing the research earlier on today, and I couldn't see if they are actually going like within Europe as well, which I don't think it wouldn't hurt them to do that, because I mean they've done it before and they're just showing. They should just close down. They should have just closed down cut their losses and then go back to what they know. Now, obviously, we know the whole thing here was that this guy was a bit too ambitious. We've seen it too many times. I think with one of the episodes we actually spoke about it. You think you're doing so well that you're untouchable enough to go into what? A territory that you don't necessarily know, a territory that you don't actually, you think that by adding just, by cutting, slashing costs, because then he disrupted, that's the thing. He disrupted all the other airlines, and all the other airlines, in fact, because of him, had to cut their prices. Which is obviously good for the consumer, but it was not good for them eventually, because now you're playing with fine margins. Yeah. So that's Norwegian.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean the airline industry. Oh, before you get to the airline, so what type of a blunder is this? It's not a product blunder.
No, it's I think
business model blunder, strategy blunder.
It was definitely a strategy blunder.
Yeah.
You're doing it well. In fact, one of the reason I say they're doing it was a strategy blunder is Southwest. I actually read up on them, and Southwest has never gone, like they'd been the first 2 years of Southwest running was the only 2 years they'd never made profit. It's one of the only companies in American history. Obviously, I think during COVID they obviously made a bit of a hit, but I think even then they started doing, they took out all the seats and they started delivering.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they started doing the deliveries or whatever, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they stuck to their guns. They stuck to what they knew, and they did it so well that they've never not actually been in profit.
In profit?
In profit. They've never not, the only 2 years, they've never not made profit.
Oh, okay.
And I don't think Southwest.
So, I mean, Southwest Airlines, I mean, it sounds like it's one of those beloved companies in the US. Yes. Because I remember after the 9/11 story, a whole lot of airliners took a knock, because people were like,
not going to fly.
They were a bit scared of flying after that. and a lot of airlines took a knock. But people apparently, I don't know how true this is.
Yeah.
That people actually started even sending some of the checks to Southwest to keep it going. You know? So I mean, if you have a situation where your customers are bailing you out,
listen,
you know, it means you are doing such an amazing job.
The story of Southwest for me is amazing. Just from what I've listened to and what I've read, like when I say people stick to your lanes kind of thing, they really stuck to their lanes and they did it so well that, as you said, they're like a Walmart of the airline industry in America.
So interesting, you talk about the airline, and I didn't know that you're going to talk about that, thanks to the coin. So, I mean, I've read up on Safair.
Yes.
Because it's a similar story.
Yes.
And in fact, the story of Safair is similar to what you're saying, because Safair has now started opening up flights to other countries.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So remember, Safair used to be
it's only local
destination.
So
they've opened up. They've opened up other routes. Outside the country.
Yes.
I think there's flights to Zimbabwe. There's flights to Zanzibar or somewhere there.
Yeah.
There's flights to Vic Falls.
Okay.
So it's going to be interesting to see how that, because it's similar. It's a similar strategy.
It is.
It's a low-cost carrier. So what I listened to an interview of the CEO, or was it the founder of the CEO of Safair?
Yeah.
And they actually was talking about how they actually remained profitable during COVID, when SAA had to declare bankruptcy, right? And so the business model is fairly straightforward. How do you maintain low costs? Because the idea is you want to transfer your savings on the costs to your customers so that they also pay
less. Yeah.
So what they do is they have similar aircrafts, right? So all their aircrafts are similar. The same size, same seats, everything.
Yes.
And what then happens is when they do maintenance or they buy parts.
Oh, they buy in bulk.
They buy in bulk.
That's clear.
Right? They buy in bulk, and obviously they get discounts.
Yes.
And then as a result, they're able to transfer those discounts to their customers.
So already that's subsidizing. It's a form of subsidizing the flight itself.
Yes.
That's clear.
Right?
That's clear.
And it's easier to manage the same type of flight or aircraft, you know.
In fact, that's actually what Southwest actually does. Funny enough, they all have the same flights,
same sized aircraft. So that's quite interesting to sort of get a sense of, so that's how they're doing it. So it's going to be interesting to see now that they're doing
the long
distance.
But I guess the long distance that they're doing is not as hectic as what Southwest would have done. Actually, the US is far.
So what they're actually doing is they are doing your 2 hour, 1.5 hour flights, you know, and they don't fly every day. So you'll find that there's a flight on Tuesday, there's a flight on Thursday.
So and do they do back and forth if that's flight?
So if it's 2 days in a week, you then have people who either book this Tuesday or Thursday, and even return. So if I fly on Tuesday, then I fly back on Thursday or whatever. But their flights are usually, fully booked because they are very limited.
Not a lot of
and
them,
the prices are cheap, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, I was checking. Vic Falls is like 2.5, like just
return. Or
no,
just one
return
way?
is like maybe 4,000.
That's not bad. That is not bad at all.
Like, okay.
And but you never got. I mean, these smaller Nyana flights where you go to, they used to be like just one way. It used to be like 5,000 back in the days.
Yeah, so that's what low cost carrier is, right? I wonder if they give you chicken or beef though. They should. I mean, it's like 2 hours.
Next, you must buy. I would make them buy.
Probably.
I would.
No, in fact, you're right. You're right. Yeah, I suspect you buy chicken or beef.
Yes.
And then you obviously pay for the extra luggage.
Exactly.
Well. Yeah,
so because it's still the same concept. I don't know why. I mean, even I'm thinking these long carriers. Yes, you probably won't have, but a lot more people will pay in, right? Because it just comes as the after effect of you actually spending. So it's just in fact, my wife and I are going somewhere to a wedding, and our whole thing is we're contemplating must we do one luggage bag in Like,
For
you
the
know,
both of you.
for the both of
There's
us.
not gonna be space for your stuff.
I just told her, listen, not me, ne? I'm gonna take a carry-on bag.
Yeah.
It's enough for me.
Okay.
It's just gonna be for 2 days, and that's so cheap. I mean, it's cheap. I mean, back in the days, next.
All right. So what's the lesson?
The lesson is stick to your lane, doc.
Stick
to your lane, or if you're not going to stick to your lane, do a bit more research around how. Because there's a reason why people don't do what you do in that industry. And in fact, last thing, there's a part that, I don't remember who it was Charlie Munger or someone. And they say they always ask what could go wrong before they go into something. And then if the odds of what could go wrong are fine for them, they then go into it.
Yeah. I mean, speaking of Charlie Munger, Buffett talks about the circle of competence.
Yes.
So he says he sticks to his circle of competence.
Yes.
So during the Y2K, there was a whole frenzy about tech companies and the stock prices going up and everything. And he was like, I understand nothing about this. It's outside my circle of competence, and therefore I'm not venturing into it. Yes. So anything that he understands and he's able to explain to
how it works,
then
he
stays with that. So, the challenge with staying in your lane is you get bored. Like people like, I'm so bored. There has to be more. But
as we said, I think we've said it together in the past that coming back to Charlie Munger, and this is the last thing I'll say, but Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett, and they say that, they say the best companies are spelled survival. You just need to survive. Survive, and eventually you can get a place where you will.
So, Naval Ravikant says the definition of a startup is you spending enough time on the business model to make it profitable.
Yeah.
And then you can grow it.
Yeah.
For as long as you haven't made it profitable, you don't grow.
Let it be boring.
Yes.
As long as you're bringing in the money.
Yes.
You see? There we
awesome. Go. All right. Great. Stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane, doc.
It's quite... I was talking to someone actually before this podcast about staying in your lane. That is quite tempting. Because when you see other people are making money, right? And you are in your lane, and your lane is boring. And you're okay. There's a temptation to want to venture out and do what other people are doing, even though it's not your lane. And someone said recently that with the Olympics, that you have to stay in your. If you touch the line, you're disqualified.
Yes. And I think some of the stuff, again, don't shoot yourself. It's not to say that they couldn't do that, but I feel like they could still do the same thing, but run it in a bit of a different way. Don't just say, I mean, these guys went 50%, doc. 50% cuts in long haul flights.
Sure. All right. We are coming off the air. We're coming back on the ground.
Yes.
My story. So back in the day, I think I just started working. I was doing articles or something. And then obviously, don't be fooled by what you see now. Back then, I was like a gym freak. I was a gym freak. I would go to the gym and it was at a time where, back then you had an option between a local gym and, like a local gym.
Yes.
And then there were all these franchises, like, with local gyms didn't have the best of the best equipment.
Yeah.
Back then.
Yeah.
And then there was this, gyms that were mushrooming.
Yes.
With the best equipment, using technology and machines where all the speed points and whatever. And then obviously it was fashionable now. And then we joined. And at the time it was called Health and Racquet Club.
Health and Racquet, remember.
Up to today, I know the health. I understand the health part. I'm not so sure what the racket was. Because I used to think that maybe they had a squash court or something, actually. Right? But I don't remember hearing or seeing someone saying, I'm going to play squash.
I'm trying to think, did the one back home have? I don't even think
I don't remember seeing any of the thing. Probably there was the initial plan. Probably never took off.
Yes.
Or probably there were some that had squash courts we didn't know about.
Actually.
Yeah. So the Health and Racquet Club was sort of like under a holding company called LeisureNet.
Okay.
So, it was started by this guy called Peter Gardner and Rodney Mitchell.
Okay.
And these guys, they, started in the 1990s, right? And they opened all these branches throughout. But obviously, they started in the major cities, Joburg, Durban, Cape Town, right? And 1999, the company was doing very well as a private entity, right? So what they then did is because they were building all these clubs, these gyms, they then bought shares in the construction company that was building those gyms, which made sense because if you're gonna open a lot of gyms, you want to also benefit from the construction of those gyms, right?
Yeah.
So they were doing very well. So they started now operating or opening branches in London.
It was that big.
No, it was doing very well. So then they decide.
South African company.
Yes, South African company.
Hectic.
So they decide, no, we're obviously going to need a lot of capital.
Yeah.
And what happens in South Africa, if you need more capital, you list.
Yes.
Right. So they were listing. They had a good product. It was Health and Racquet Club and Planet Fitness. But Planet Fitness was a bit behind. Health and Racquet was growing exponentially, right? They were opening branches all over.
I didn't even know Planet Fitness was here that long, yes.
Yeah, no, it was, but it was not. So Planet Fitness would be like one. So say for instance in Pretoria,
yes.
So you have like 3 or 4 Health and Racquet Clubs,
yes,
right? And you have one Planet Fitness in Pretoria.
I get you.
Kind of the thing, right?
Yeah.
Durban is the same, Cape Town is the same.
Yes.
So Planet Fitness, I think, was comfortable, in their lane, slowly, marching on. Health and Racquet was on steroids, right? They had thousands of membership. They employed about 5,200 and so people throughout the country. So it was a big machine. Right? It was a big machine. So now they were thinking of expanding in overseas, in London. And what they then do, these guys, because now you have shareholders, and once you start registering on the stock exchange, you then have an issue with you are dealing with people's monies.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you have 1,000 plus members who are contributing every month.
Sure.
Right?
Sure. It's like an insurance company.
Yes, it's like so you have this machine that's printing money.
Yes.
Every month is printing money.
Amos gyms are actually a good idea.
Yeah. You have people who pay and they don't show up.
What dogs so?
Well, now. Back then, oh my word. So what then happens is because now because you are listing on the stock exchange, there's a whole governance thing.
Yes.
So you have a board. You need to have a board.
Yeah.
Right? You might be the shareholder, but you have board. You have shareholders that have invested. So you have a board that's now supposed to hold you accountable. Now, you then have a situation where the CEO, Peter Gardner, and this Peter Gardner was the CEO, and Rodney Michel was the CFO.
Yeah.
So these guys are living big. Like now, can you imagine? You have this machine that's printing cash, right? So what they then do is they open branches in the UK.
Yes.
What they now do is they list the company in the UK, right?
Okay.
They list the company in the UK. No, they bought shares in another company in the UK.
Okay, yeah.
And now the goal is you now want to transfer some of the your debt. No. Remember, you're opening in the other side.
Okay.
So you raise funding. Funding.
Yes.
You want to open on the other side.
Yes.
There's a company that you need to trade.
Yes. I get you. A local company.
A local company that side. So then they have this other company where they bought about 20% shares in that company.
Yeah.
Right. And this company is now going to manage the Health and Racquet Club in London.
Okay.
And then they increase their shareholding to about 40-something until they get majority shareholding in that company. Wow. Right? Now, what they do, these guys, right, as these transactions are taking place, where they are, there's a whole transaction, let's buy more shares into this thing, right? They don't disclose that actually they are the owners of this company in the UK, right?
Wait. So before opening it,
they
owned it.
No, they didn't.
Okay, so
it was owned by someone else.
Okay, so they were buying
it was
in
owned
secret.
Yes, they are buying it in secret. Right? So as they are now transferring to say we are buying this company as Health and Racquet Club, we are buying this company in the UK, blah, 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 right? Shareholders don't know. The board doesn't know that actually these guys, right, are the owners of this company. So they are benefiting from the whole transaction, right? As the shareholders are rubber stamping, the board is rubber stamping to say, no,
it's
fair.
giving WeWork, yes.
Yes, there's WeWork. There's Steinhoff also.
Steinhoff, yes.
So if you read up on the story of Steinhoff, because they're furniture manufacturing.
Yes.
Right? And Marcus Joste wants to buy a lumber
lumber company.
Lumber company in Brazil, I think.
Yes.
So they need to buy a farm, right? And the shareholders, the board, they say, no, there's this company. They're negotiating with this company in Brazil. It's a farm.
Yes.
Lumber farm. They do wood, and they want to buy that farm.
Yeah.
And then Marcus stops the transaction, right?
Yeah.
Stops the transaction, and people don't understand why. Why is he stopping, right? And he doesn't say why. Kanti the Baga is buying secretly, buying that company,
for
himself,
so that he can eventually sell it.
And then a few days later, he comes back and says, no, let's go back to Brazil, let's buy this farm. And they buy the farm, right? So you can imagine, as they are buying the farm, they're actually buying the farm from him, right? He doesn't disclose.
Obviously, here's my question. Does the CFO know?
They're both in it. They're both in it. Because what then happens is they make money from the London transaction.
Yeah.
Right? So the money comes back. They spend it lavishly on houses, what. The CFO also does a VAT refund of almost $500,000.
Yeah.
Gets the refund, refurbishes his house.
So Vella's going back into his pocket.
Yeah. They're living big. These guys. Until some lady picks up some discrepancy
internally,
and then and then she whistleblows. But now what then happens is there's a whole lot of competition coming now. Planet Fitness is also catching up. And now this whole thing blows out to actually they discover that actually they are running a whole lot of expenses, and the CFO has not been disclosing those expenses.
Cooking the books,
right? Because they were spending the money themselves on their personal. Yes, right? So there's a whole can of worms opens up. Now Health and Racquet Club has to declare bankruptcy. So what usually happens, Pick and Pay is going through that now.
Yes.
You're declaring bankruptcy.
Yes.
So you are basically saying this thing is sinking. Then the government, the department will then appoint a liquidator because they need to liquidate the whole thing and then distribute whatever they're able to raise to the debtors, suppliers, workers, and everybody, right?
Yeah.
So that's a normal process. What happens with this, with Health and Racquet, it's the same process, right? A liquidator is appointed.
Yeah.
Independent, objective, to liquidate the whole thing. But part of the liquidation process is there has to be an investigation done to see if there was any reckless trading. Right?
Yes.
So as they are doing this investigation, this whistleblower comes through to say this was
let me tell you guys, this is what happened.
Yeah. And then now they find a whole Pandora box, a whole lot of debts. Because if you have debts, right? So for instance, you go and you want to do, what do they call this thing when a person when they are highly debted in their personal capacity, and then they go to somebody to...
mashonisa kind of...
No, not that one. Where they take all your debts and they lump them into one debt review or something. Yeah.
Yes.
So you need to then disclose, right? Who do you owe? How much do you owe? Blah, blah, blah. And then they investigate, are these expenses legit? Right? And who then do we prioritize? Right? So what these guys happen when they do the business rescue, they pick up a whole lot of expenses, right? And these are not supplies. These are not like a normal day-to-day operation expenses. And they pick up, these are personal expenses that these guys were running, right? And then they now start investigating. Now they're charging them, right? They're charging them with fraud, the fact that they didn't disclose. And then this guy, Rodney Michel, right? Because now they are being investigated, the Hawks, everybody. He books a flight to...
Don't they all?
I think Mauritius or somewhere. Cape Town. He's in Cape Town. So all these things happening in Cape Town. He books a flight all right, and he's supposed to fly out of the country at 12 midday or something like that on a Saturday. And you can imagine Saturday it's not as busy, right?
Yeah.
So he goes, puts his passport, everything. Is supposed to fly out. Then the customs officials pick it up, red flag. They call the Hawks.
Yeah.
They come, right?
Yeah, most of these things work.
And he gets arrested. Yeah, he gets arrested. Right? No, come with us to the police station. Right? Obviously, because he was trying to escape the country. And then they call the other guy, Peter Gardner, as well, to say, come through, we want to see you, we want to talk. He drives himself to the police station. They both get arrested. Right? They were sentenced to 13 years in jail. I think they appealed to the Supreme Court and it was reduced to 7 years in jail.
Yeah.
Right? Of course, then they lose everything.
Obviously.
Right? So I think they came out recently.
Only recently?
Yeah.
I should have been a long time ago, Dr.
Yeah. No, remember, with one of the biggest challenges with white-collar crime is it takes time to investigate. And this whole thing was almost 10 years. It took almost 10 years.
Yeah.
The whole thing. Because these transactions are complex.
Yeah.
They're not just a simple transaction.
Yeah.
You rob me.
Yes.
There's a CCTV I can see.
Yes.
No. Yes, there's audit trail, but also the nature. Because these guys, they cook these books very well. So for you to be able to unpack the whole thing, but also sometimes look at the motive behind these transactions, right?
Yes.
So, and also bear in mind, they get expensive lawyers as well. So they drag. On average, this kind of cases took forever.
Yes.
Right?
The
VBS case took forever as well.
And he's still not sentenced.
It's still not over, right? Unless if somebody confesses. But this white-collar crimes, they take quite a while. Now, what is the lesson? Right. Obviously, one. Oh, by the way, so Utata, Nelson Mandela comes into the picture, right?
Back in the day.
So he gets to here because there's about 5,000 people to be retrenched.
Oh, yeah.
About over 1,000 or so members who have been paying gym member fees.
Yes.
So now you have to close this thing. It has to close because it's not profitable. Because if you continue running it, you're actually continuing running the losses.
Yes.
Running the tap.
Yes.
So you need to close the tap so that the whole thing stops being leaking cash.
Yes.
So Utata then reads about this on the newspaper, and then he decides we can't let 5,000 people go. So he calls his friend Richard Branson, right?
Oh, is that how?
Yes. So he calls his friend Richard Branson. Richard, there's a problem here. Come to my house in Horton, right? So,
are you serious?
Yeah. So Richard gets there. Here's the situation. Can you bail this thing out? And then Richard says, sure. I don't think there was Virgin
Active at the time. That's what I was thinking.
There wasn't.
I actually wonder if Virgin Active bought every single one of them.
Yeah. So they came in. Obviously, they had to let the whole liquidation process run its course. And then they came in.
I'm sure they got it for cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, absolutely.
It was a no-brainer. I mean, now Virgin Active is in England as well. Like, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, yeah. So that's how he came in, rescued the whole situation. People's jobs were saved. And
that's actually brilliant. I like the fact that he must know people, Doc.
Yeah. No, that's one of the lessons, actually. That you need to be networked, right? You need to be networked. Because all it took, Utata, was a call.
Yeah.
To say, I know somebody who can rescue this whole situation. Call, Richard Branson comes in, rescues the situation.
And now it's like the biggest.
Yeah. It's happily ever after, right? So networking is important. Having a healthy network, critical, right? You want to be in a situation where you're sitting there, you get a project, but it's 2 million. Let me call Dr. Roche. Hey, can you please transfer 2 million? I'll bring it. Oh, when do you want it? No, I want it SF. Okay. Just give me 10 minutes. Yeah. Send, right? That's the type of network that you need.
Yes.
But that's how, networking, having a healthy network, important. But also, it comes back to, we have touched the stories. As entrepreneurs, you need to manage your personal finances, because a lot of these cases, a lot of them, whether it's VBS, whether it's Steinhoff, LeisureNet, Regal Bank. We'll talk about Regal Bank as well. A lot of the stories is people's personal lives or personal finances
that
encroaching into the business finances, and taking over the business finances, and the whole equation just plummets. So
how do you just a question on that, right? How do you make sure that doesn't happen in a sense where, because I know a lot of people buy houses, buy cars in the business name, because obviously it tax write-offs and all of these things. Like, how do you stop that? Because I mean, you can't just look. I wouldn't want to do that. I don't think it's a good idea. As you said, I want to keep my personal life as my personal. I get a salary, I go buy what I need to buy. You know, but people buying houses and everything under the company. How do you then? So
the golden rule is, and Buffett talks about this quite a lot. The golden rule is keep your personal costs steady as your income increases. Right. So don't let your expenses increase as your income increase. So which then means that whatever you buy, you need, or a house or a car, you need to be able to say, I'm gonna own this for the next 5 or 10 years, right? If it's a house, even longer, irrespective of how much money I make, right? So, I mean, you'll know that Warren Buffett still stays at the same house in 100%. Omaha, for instance, right? He's still, maybe he's driving.
That was a C-class.
Yeah, but he's driving, but not the latest. He's not changing them as they come. So the golden rule has always been, his office is still the same. Yes. And he's given his staff a strict rule. He says, we are not increasing. If you guys want extra people, you'll decide where you're going to put them, on your lap. I'm not increasing the office, right? Yes. So keep your expenses steady as your income grows. Don't increase your expenses as your income grows. So that's how. But these guys, because they're making more money, the temptation is always to upgrade everything, right? And it's a difficult thing to do, but I think those who get it right, they do that. And then, of course, ethics. I mean, it comes back to ethics. It comes back to ethics.
A lot of what we've, all of the blunders, let me say, that come from that fraud point of view. It's just an ethical thing, obviously.
But it sounds like it's a personal finance encroaching into business finances, and then you lose your ethics.
Yes. I think I actually want to say it's not even a personal finance thing. I think I would go to the extent of saying it's a character thing.
Values thing.
It's a values thing. Yeah. Because if your values were in the right place, first and foremost, you'll be able to say no to the very luxuries that you know you can't actually afford alone. Yes. You know, and that's the values. I mean, values. You taught these things at home.
Yes.
There's many people that have grown poor, that have grown up poor, but were able to come to a point where they were able to build a multi-billion-dollar company without having to have stolen anything. Yeah. So it's just a values thing. Yeah. So I didn't even want to say it's a. It's the values. If you're going into that company rotten, what's going to happen? Yeah.
When you make more money.
Exactly.
Right. It's going to magnify whether you have values or not.
100%.
Right. So that's the story, man. And of course, we have a good, healthy network. So, Malesela, next time when I call you, I want 2 million.
Dog, I got you.
Please,
I got you, please. Dog. I got you.
I don't need forms. I don't need to be completing forms or collateral. Just send. I'll return it back. Awesome. So that's me.
Hey, Dog, that time we'll be driving in a C63 here.
So that's me.
That's actually very interesting. I enjoyed that. And so obviously in this sense, what's the lesson there?
Lesson: have a healthy network, manage your personal expenses. Don't always keep the rule. Don't let your expenses grow as your income grows.
Yes.
There's always that temptation. To say, now I'm promoted, I'm here anymore, I'm upgrading everything. No. Just keep it steady. Unless, of course, you can get it at a discount.
Yes.
But keep it steady.
100%.
Right?
100%.
And have that 5-10 year expense outlook where you're going to keep it steady. The clothes, the places you go, whatever.
Dog, you see that?
Keep it steady.
That one is the most important.
Yeah.
Because
Talk
if you
to your wife, you know.
Anna,
there's
luckily
no
I'm married to
50 bags, and 200 shoes, and so yeah.
Okay, I guess that's the point.
That's the part. Take us home.
Thank you everyone for a great session. Yes, like, subscribe, and actually comment, guys. We've been seeing a whole lot of you guys watching the videos. It's actually amazing, and we
Thank you.
appreciate every single one of you taking your time and listening to us. Pop us a comment, say what you think. Which stories would you want to hear that you've always been curious about? We'll go out, we'll research them, and we'll tell you all about it on Fail Forward Friday.
Fail Forward Friday. Thank you so much.
Enjoy. Bye.